Well, hi everybody. It's Leanne Greff with today's Monday Night Live. I have not had a Monday Night Live for, I think, 2 months. I think in April I forgot, I missed the date, and then in May I was gone on the incentive trip. So yeah, it's been a while. I am very out of practice. So hopefully we'll get back into it, and those of you who like to stamp with me on Monday nights will start remembering again that the fourth Monday night of each month I try and do a Facebook Live. And what I do, if you are a first-time watcher or not sure how this goes, is I try and post the plan, the card layout on either Saturday or Sunday on my Facebook page. And that is on Flowerbugs Inkspot. So if you are not, oh, sorry, hang on, I gotta mute that. So if you're not following me on Facebook Live and you like to stamp live, you want to. If you're not on Facebook, of course, that's the way it goes, you can't. But I usually upload these videos to YouTube. So if you enjoy YouTube rather than Facebook Live, you can do it that way too and just watch it later. But some people like to prep their pieces and stamp right along with me. So is anybody doing that tonight? Stamping right along with me. I posted the measurements on a Saturday evening. And hopefully some of you, I think Linda said you have yours all cut out, right? So I think Linda is stamping with me. So I think it was Linda Schilling, not Linda Congable. I can't remember. I think that's what it was. So who else is stamping? And making these, I'm gonna call them. Now Annette, you're watching, and Annette reminded me of this card layout because she made one recently, and I'm like, I forgot about that. So it does pay to save one of your favorite layouts if you have a card layout or something, and save it for a later idea. I have a whole shoebox full of either fun folds or card layouts, and this is a great one to use up designer paper, which is kind of what I try and do on Monday nights, is either a fun fold or using designer paper. Every now and then I do a technique, but sometimes it's hard to do techniques when not everybody has the items. So that gets a little bit tricky. Okay, so hopefully if you're not stamping, you will be inspired to make one of these cards later. So the card or the papers that I'm using today, let's see. So this is the Masterfully Made designer paper. That's this piece right here. And this one is the Delightfully Eclectic. That's this piece right, this sheet right here. So those are the designer papers that I used for these two cards. Now, of course, I love to switch it up. So I am going to switch up and use this paper, the Inked Botanicals. Love the color template or theme here. It's Calypso Coral, Crushed Curry, Lost Lagoon, Petal Pink, and Pool Party. Some of my favorite colors. Okay, so if you did not prep your cards, I will be posting this on my blog later this week, and I'll also add the measurements again. They are on my Flowerbugs Inkspot Facebook page, and I will add them also to the YouTube upload when I upload this video to YouTube. So then you'll have them. Sometimes in my videos I will post the measurements, and I didn't get that done today. So the stamps that I use before I get to making my cards is this one, Kindest Expressions, and it is a new one in the annual catalog. I love sets with large greetings. Sometimes you just want to say it big or fill in something on your card, and this is a great one for that. So that's what we're using, Kindest Expressions. It's, like I said, in the annual catalog right now. And Stampin' Up. This is the year, if you're watching this later, and some people are watching some of my videos years later, and so it's 2023 catalog. All right, so here are our pieces. So I'm gonna do a kind of a play on this one right here. So those are my greetings. I have an extra one just in case. And then I die cut a little bit. See how this has that there, and this one has this little banner? I'm gonna see if this works. So we'll see what that looks like and just cut it in half. That's what I did on this one. And before I get into that, the dies right here, the circle and the square, are from the Stylish Shapes dies. You get banners, circles, and rectangles or squares all stitched. And then on here, I use the Countryside Corner dies. And you can see that little red one is this little banner right here. And the rest, I used, I think it was this one. So Great Greetings and Layers. So those are new Countryside Corners in our annual catalog, if you haven't gotten them yet. So that's what I used on those cards. Okay, so moving on. Let's do this one because it's much, well, this one's a little busy, so I think you can see the layers better here. Now, when you're making this card, you may want to, this is what I do, lay out your, oh, of course I forgot my trimmer, so hold on, I'm gonna grab my trimmer. I do need that, because you have to cut these pieces in half on the diagonal. So I find it's very helpful to, there's two ways to do this. Have a card, look at it, and pick this up and say, okay, I'm cutting from here to here. Okay, so that's kind of how I do it. If you're using a piece of designer paper, now of course you want to use double-sided, right? Because that's how this template works the best. And I could actually have done two at once. In fact, I'm going to the next time. Okay, so we know that that one goes there. These are here and here. So we know this one goes from here to here. Okay, so you're gonna do two that, and I need to keep those together very well. Yes, so my paper is directional. These blossoms do go north and south. So we'll see how that looks. I'm not sure that's gonna work actually now that I think about it, but we're gonna learn through me. So because some of these may be upside down, we're just gonna see. So there and here. And then this one will be, uh-oh. Did I just do that weird? I should have. Let me just see. Oh, I know, I have to wait until I cut this one. Boy, I'm confusing myself. So this one's gonna be here to here. So you cut, basically, let me do this first before I finish telling you what my suggestion is. Okay, so now we have our template, right? So basically you're gonna cut two from top right to bottom left, 1, 2, and 2 from top left to bottom right. Then you're just going to flip these all around. And yeah, it did pretty much work out. We'll see. And this one goes here, this one goes here. So I can keep these, which are much more bold, facing the right direction. And these are kind of upside down, but because they're so diffuse, you don't really notice it. So that is how I planned out my card. So like I said, if you have paper that is directional, and honestly, this one I believe is, but I can't tell because I cut so much off of it. So, so yeah, that's how you do this. And this one here, you can see had these images that went up north and south, and that's a great paper to do that with, and same with this one. Non-directional, does not matter. Here, yes, some of these flowers are going north and south. There's nothing I can do about that, but they'll be mostly covered up by this, so it doesn't bother me. Okay, to adhere this together, so you know that there is a fine line. So if you're not, this may be a challenge for some of you who have trouble getting things straight. I tend to just look at my perimeter, and I'm pretty good about judging that like 1/8 inch edge. So that's how I do it all the way around, and then you're left with the center. And the center, well, if you have to, you can always trim it. That's my, how I do it. I don't worry too much if it's off just a little bit because it's a handmade card. I'm just not gonna stress about perfection. You just gotta let it go sometimes. Now I'm gonna just test these, and it looks like there's very little space between them. And this is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece. So you may cut this a little larger. Oh, I never told you the dimensions if you're working with me. each one of these pieces of designer paper is 2.5 wide by 1 7/8 tall. So what I could do, if I was really going to worry about perfection, I could trim each one of these a little bit smaller. But I think if I have just a little layer on them, I should be okay. This one's a little bit large. I could trim that. And I will try it. Let's see how my paper trimmer does. If I can trim, because it needs very little off, just a hair. And sometimes it doesn't do well when you're just trimming, and it likes to move. There's not much to hold on here. So let's see if I can, there we go. Okay, I did just trim off a hair. Let's see how we did. Yes, that looks much better. Okay, so if you may want to cut this outside layer 4 1/8 tall by 5 3/8 inch wide, and you'll have a little bit more room to play with here on these layers. This is really tight here, and whether I found that I have 2 paper trimmers I use the most, and not the one I just showed you. I'm a guillotine kind of girl. I do prefer a guillotine. So they're not the same. I can cut one and then turn around and cut another with another trimmer, and they are just different. They are not the same. Now I'm noticing there's a little bit wider space there, but our piece is our little greeting is going to cover that up. So I think this is such a fun way to show both sides of your designer paper. Okay, now I have a vanilla card base here. There you go. This card this designer paper is vanilla, which is really refreshing because we tend not to use vanilla as much as we do white. So I really like that they added a vanilla designer paper. Now remember, all of our papers, we still have, is it 4 days left? So all of these papers, instead of being $12.50, well, this one's even more because you get 48 sheets. But these two are regularly $12.50 and they're now $10.62. So it is a really good time to buy. And this one's even a better deal. This Delightfully Eclectic, 48 sheets. I think the regular price is $30 and it's down to $25 for 48 sheets. So when you do the math, this one is an exceptionally good deal for how much you get. Just saying. Okay, so let's get our greeting inked up, and I'm going to do a sympathy card. I thought this was a good color. These are a little too bright and happy for a sympathy card, honestly. So I decided to do with this stamp set. I thought I'd use one of the other greetings. And yes, I do have a few fuzzes on here, so we'll see if I can get these off. I'm looking up at the light because my kitties like to stamp sit beside me while I'm stamping. They don't stamp, but they do sit beside me. Now this was a little light in ink, and I thought I'd just quickly go over how I ink my ink pads. I did one pass with it, and first of all, you need to make sure it says Calypso Coral, Calypso Coral. And then you go ahead and I do the perimeter, and then I go in and out, and when it absorbs immediately, you know you need to re-ink it. So you don't want to do too much. Do one pass and see how it is, then do another. Now I tend to use a plastic knife. You could use a real spoon or something that's soft, and then and this is our foam ink pads. So then you just push it in to the ink pad, and then you clean off wash this off under water so you don't get it full. Then you can clean off with a tissue some of your excess ink. Then you let it sit upside down, because remember, our ink pads are pad side down, or the pad is down naturally, so you always want to store it this way. The ink pad should always be down so the ink comes to the surface of the ink pad. So, but right now I want it to absorb into the ink, so I'm going to store it upside down, probably overnight. Okay, so that's a little tip on that. I really like how this angle kind of completes this this diagonal. So I'm gonna put a few ink pads, get my push it with my nail so it gets a little bit of a lift on there. Then the edges just peel off really nicely. You don't have to fuss with them. And to get this straight, I'm looking at all my parameters here. Okay, now here, this little tiny banner, I'm going to cut in half. And I don't know how much this is going to make a difference, but it's fun to add. So I will just add a dot of glue, and it helps if you have something straight. And then because I used glue and not a tape runner, I can move it around a little bit. So we'll do the same thing here. Add a little bit of glue on the end. Oh, don't stick to me. And then line that up. And then move this so it is in the center and straight as you can. Looks pretty good. Now you can go ahead and glue that straight. I think I'm going to glue it down flat. Sometimes when you know you're mailing a card, you don't add as many dimensionals or as many high or tall or thick embellishments. So I'm just going to make sure that my points are all in the centers of these. Isn't that pretty? I like it. Okay, now I do have, these are the iridescent pastel gems, and there are some coral ones here. So I think I will add, I don't think I'm going to add it, well, maybe I will. One there, one here. Okay, and these are very iridescent. Okay, those are the cards. So like I said, I will be updating the measurements when I post this on my blog. They're already on my Facebook page. So if you scroll back a couple posts, it's probably down about 3. I posted on Saturday. So if you want to check for the measurements, it's on Saturday. Otherwise, if you're watching, I will add the measurements to the description of this video, both on Facebook and on YouTube. And then you can make them yourself. But yeah, very simple card. You love how it shows both sides of the designer paper. Some papers, and you can tell which ones will work when you look at like this kind of I have each side showing on my square. So this was a great example. This one will work. This one would be beautiful. This one, not so sure. They have to be, this one could work, but a lot of these I think work very well. So this is the one I used. I wouldn't use these because they don't have anything that coordinates them. This one could work if there's yellow in there. This one, and this one would all work. So look at your designer series papers and then try and choose one that has designs that are all over, like these leaves or these flowers. They're not directional and all going north and south. Now this one, the Zoo Crew, I think could be especially hard because when you cut the other side of this, they're going to be upside down. All these critters and designs are directional, very directional. Though these are not, but the other side is. So this would not be a good designer paper to choose. Just a tip. So, yeah, okay, so what you want to do now, if you want to be in the drawing for a door prize, on July 24th, I will be drawing a prize for anybody who shares their card on my Facebook page. So I won't say Facebook page, it'll be in my group, my Flower Bug Stamp and Share group. And if you share a card like this, with this pattern layout, by July 23rd, you'll be in the drawing for a prize. So, yeah. Good idea, Ginny. Use up that retired paper and make a bunch of cards this way. So easy. Add a greeting. It does not have to be as layered as I did today. Just be a simple greeting with a strip of designer paper and you're good to go. So really easy cards, but fun to use that designer paper that is. No, you can definitely use retired paper on this challenge. This is for my customers, my team members, all papers. I like to see Stampin' Up, but not everybody does. But yeah, all papers, you just need to use this design to be in the drawing for a prize on my Flowerbug Stamp and Share group. So that's where the drawing will be. And I'm going to be making a post tonight that says, share here. So I think it says let's share, and then that's where you post your version of this card. And then do that by July 23rd and you'll be in the drawing. Okay, now tomorrow I will have another Facebook Live here on my Flowerbugs Inkspot Facebook page. Plus, of course, they're all uploaded to my YouTube channel under Leanne Graff. So you can always see my videos there. All right, I'll see some of you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time, almost every Tuesday. July 4th, I will not be having a live. I've got company here, so almost every Tuesday. All right, thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate you watching. Okay, bye-bye.